early in the morning, heart of South Philly. Let's go see what the people have got to say. I'm ready to roll if they need me.
Now listen here, Dutch. Mets and the Cowboys, they suck.
1, 2, 3, go Birds! Go Birds! Here we got 302BIRDS, Gino Stinks. Go Birds! Oh my gosh, chat.
Your favorite Chicagoan. Go Phils.
As always, God bless. Go Birds.
Get your water ice and soft pretzels ready because you are now tuned into a 302BIRDS podcast experience. Proudly presented by TickPick, Nick's Pizza, El Diablo Burritos, and Klondike Kate's on the heart of Main Street. Let's take it to the show.
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Season 8 premiere of 302BIRDS podcast. Took a little bit of a break, took some time off, had to get everything refreshed, recharged, all good to go. But we are here, back ready to cover another season of Philadelphia Eagles free agency, Philadelphia Eagles draft, Phillies season upcoming. They're in the midst of spring training and a lot more at hand. But Jack, how you feeling after your little break?
I'm feeling recharged. I'm feeling relaxed. I'm feeling cool, calm, collected. We got a lot of questions to be answered in this offseason. We got to see what this combine brings to us, and see what the Eagles decide to do with their free agency.
Anyone off the top of the dome that you would potentially like to see the Eagles bring in?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I need to look at the draft class. I'm not really sure, who's out there and who's not. I'll probably look at that this week. But I mean, it's definitely like a D end, maybe a receiver, maybe a offensive lineman. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. We kind of have all the pieces right now. There's just some holes that need to be filled. Maybe a linebacker, depending on what happens if the Eagles are smart with Zach Vaughn. Making sure we resign him. So yeah, that's all I got. All I have to say, and kind of take the note.
Okay. Well, yeah, hopefully somebody that's good and can make a difference, make an impact. I'm hopefully on the edge rush chain. But without further ado, let's get into our call-ins because we got somebody pretty awesome backstage.
What do I want when I'm in the state of Delaware? Of course, El Diablo Burritos. Customer service always is serving your food with a smile on their face, asking how your day is, but their food is phenomenal as well. Their burritos are out of this world, one of the best burritos in town. Their queso is phenomenal. Their burrito bowls are amazing as well. When you're in and around Delaware, stop by your local El Diablo Burritos and tell them that 302BIRDS sent you. God bless. Go Birds.
Like it said in the video, if you're in and around Delaware, stop at your local El Diablo Burrito. Season 8 premiere, we got Sam Nelson. We didn't really see much of him last season. I'm glad he's here tonight. What do you got for us, buddy? How you doing?
I am doing just fabulous. The baby Lombardi is, of course, here with me. I got my Super Bowl champ sign. It feels good to be on top of the football world. It just feels good. I can't really say much else. It feels good.
It's great to tell all the haters fuck you, because you can't say much about this team. You can't say much about Nick Sirianni. You can't say much about Jalen Hurts. So fuck you, buddy. So what do you got for us tonight?
Gentlemen, I think we need to talk about the big four of free agents that this team has. I understand that we're talking about what's going to happen in the draft, what's going to happen in free agency, but from Howie's little presser the other day at the Combine, it sounds like free agency is strictly going to be what can they do to bring back the four core guys they have. And there's other guys too. Like, I know people don't think these guys are as important. Isaiah Rodgers is also a free agent. Fred Johnson, who is their backup swing tackle to both Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, is a free agent. Doesn't show up to be the sexiest name, but provides depth. But in terms of the top four guys, Zach Bond, Mekhi Becton, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, who do we think are the most realistic to actually come back next year?
So personally, and now is this a personal thing or what? Like in reality, what I think how he's going to do.
Either way, your opinion or it don't matter.
Okay, so personally, Milton Williams is a great player. He played phenomenal this season. He had that key sack fumble that this year in the Super Bowl. But here's the thing. Obviously, any of these guys that you just mentioned, they're going to be asking for a lot of money, and we kind of don't have that much money. There's some people that we should sign, and maybe some people we can let go. But for Milton Williams, I think we can let go or let him go. My buddy Josh, Josh, his brother was here over the weekend, and he made a good point that Milton Williams is a great player. He played phenomenal this season, right? His price tag is definitely increased by a lot. But if you really look at what we have at the D end, we have great young guys that can kind of fill in that role, likes of Jalen Hunt. He played pretty well in the Super Bowl, things of that nature. So I think we can let him go. I think the main priority for Howie this offseason is give Zach Bond his contract, because Zach Bond, kind of was a sleeper when he played for the Saints, and then this year he just kind of came out of the woodwork and played phenomenal. He was one of the best middle linebackers this season. He had all these accolades that he hasn't had when he was with the Saints. So that's your main priority, is get Zach Bond signed, right? And then Mekhi Becton, I think that's a guy that we probably should bring back, and maybe we should draft somebody in the upcoming draft and kind of let Mekhi Becton, because he's been in the league now for 5 years, hasn't really done much, or not 5 years, it's been 3 or 4 years. When he was at the Jets, didn't really do much, and then he came to Philadelphia. Jeff Stoutland is one of the greatest offensive lineman coach, so I think we keep Mekhi Becton, and then Josh Sweat. He has mentioned multiple times that he wants to come back to Philadelphia and, maybe take a discount, which I think Josh Sweat is kind of that key asset on that D-line. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have been coming in their own, especially last season. So that's kind of my way, how I think about it. That's what I got to say.
Sam, how about you? What do you think?
All right. Well, here's how I look at this stuff. When I look at the Eagles in free agency every year, I say, what do they have in-house behind those players? So what I look at with those four, when it comes to edge rushers, they are going to draft one and they are going to sign one or trade for one. Myles Garrett, maybe. I don't know. But they're going to add 2 edge rushers because Josh Sweat will command a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't think Josh Sweat comes back at all. He is the one that I am like 99% sure is gone. Milton Williams, another guy. I think he is at 85% gone. But the reason I am more comfortable with Milton Williams has to do with a guy that they drafted late a couple years ago, and that is the guy named Moro Ojomo, who in that building, they love. Ojomo, listen to this real quick. I just found this stat on my Twitter. And yes, I don't call it X. Highest pass rush win rate among defensive tackles last season. The leader in that category was Chris Jones at 18.8%. Number 2 on that list at 18.2%. Now, granted, limited snaps because he was backing up Milton Williams and Jalen Carter, is Moro Ojomo. I think he is going to slide right into Milton Williams' role next year. So that is why I don't have Milton Williams coming back. I know how he likes to pay his defensive linemen. I could be wrong. Would I rather have Milton Williams and Ojomo? Absolutely. but I don't know if Milton Williams' price tag is going to be low enough for them to retain him. Becton is another one. I was more confident with Becton coming back 2 weeks ago than I am now. It sounds like they are willing to bring Becton back if the price tag is there, if it's right. But I think they still really love Tyler Steen to fill his role. Steen, he was great last year as that sixth offensive lineman off the bench. He filled in for at right guard when Becton got bagged up in a couple games. He stepped up in the NFC title game when Juergens could barely walk and Dickerson had to slide over, or then when Dickerson went out and Juergens had to play. But Steen still played left guard that whole game, and he played pretty damn well. I could see them bringing in maybe a more of a cost-efficient veteran to compete for that job with Steen, so it keeps him like, it doesn't just automatically give him the job. I mean, we thought Steen was going to be the right guard last year until they signed Mekhi Becton. Could I see the Eagles doing that again? Absolutely. Like you said earlier, could they draft someone in the middle of the draft for that? Absolutely. It's Jeff Stoutland. I'm never going to doubt Jeff Stoutland. The guy that it sounds like they are prioritizing the most, it's Zach Baun. And they have to prioritize Zach Baun. Not just because Zach Baun turned into easily the best middle linebacker this team has had since Jeremiah Trotter Sr. Here's how you got to look at things. As of right now, they've got one linebacker healthy on the roster. Oren Burks, who filled in well late in the playoffs. He's a free agent. Nakobe Dean, I don't believe that he's going to be ready for the first couple weeks of the season after that knee injury. There's no way. They right now don't have a linebacker on the roster. And that is why Zach Baun, I don't care what his price tag is. That's the guy that has to be brought back at all costs. I have another funny stat, and I hope somebody finds this hilarious. Zach Baun became the second linebacker since 1991 to produce a turnover at each of his first 4 career postseason starts. The funny thing about that, the first guy to do that was Eagle legend Devin White in 2020.
That's crazy. That's insane.
So please, for the love of God, Sweat, I think he's gone. Williams, I'm almost certain he's going to be gone just because his price tag is going to be too big. And like I said, they love Moro Ojomo. They loved him when they got him in the 7th round. He has done nothing but improve since being here. And the fact that you're on a pass rush win rate list with Chris Jones, who's pretty damn good last time I checked, I'm comfortable with him filling that role. Sweat, they're going to add edge rushers. They're going to add one in free agency, however you want to put it, trade, signing, whatever, and they're going to draft one. This is a draft. Now, I haven't done my research yet. It's freaking loaded with edge rushers and defensive tackles. That's Howie Roseman's freaking favorite thing in the world. And since 2021, Howie's done nothing but kill the draft. So I am perfectly okay with it. And I'm okay with these guys stepping in day one and doing something. If we sat here this time, say we sat here after last year's draft, do you think I would have thought Jalix Hunt was playing meaningful snaps in the Super Bowl over Bryce Paperweight Huff? Shout out, Dalt.
No, hell no.
I think Jalix Hunt has been a pass rusher for like 2 years in his life. He was a safety, and he made the transition to edge rusher when he got to Christian Baptist, whatever the frickin' school he went to. I forget the name of it, but the fact that Vic Fangio turned this guy into a legitimate player in year one. First of all, screw the NFL for fighting him for the freaking bow and arrow celebration. Because if Trent Cole was still in the league, he'd be bankrupt because of that. But the fact that someone asked me the other day, what if you went into next year a rookie behind Jalix Hunt, a veteran behind Nolan Smith, and they're your 2 starters? I'm cool because they prove they can do it. Nolan Smith played in the Super Bowl with one arm, which he was probably so drunk he didn't know he actually tore his tricep, but still. But they are going to figure this out. Baun is the priority because, again, all the guys I named, I have found a scenario to replace all of them. I can't find one to get Zach Baun unless you're calling San Francisco and trading for Fred Warner, which isn't going to happen. Unless you want to bring Devin White back for a year, but I don't think that's going to happen either. But still, Baun has to be the priority. Fangio said it last year. He needs good middle linebackers to run his defense effectively. And it's not a knock on the Kobe Dean, but the guy has not had a clean bill of health in his career. And he's not going to be ready for week 1 with that injury. There's no way. It's too late in the season. I want to see him hopefully come back and play to the level he did this year, because we don't get to this point without Kobe Dean. But Zach Bourne has to be on the field in Philadelphia week 1. He has to be, because as of right now, we have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and who?
Yeah.
Like they're all free agents. Like everyone's is gone.
Yeah.
That's where my point is. I try to look at, do we have a guy I am okay with replacing them with? I'm okay with Milton Williams being replaced by Ojamo. First of all, as long as you're playing next to Jalen Carter, you're going to get one-on-ones. And if Ojamo's winning them, then have fun with that defensive line. The edge rushers, the starters, in my opinion, are there. It's the guys behind them. And do they find guys that will make Hunt still a rotational player? Like, to be real, if you were to trade for a Myles Garrett, Jalen Hunt's not starting. It's going to be Nolan Smith and Myles Garrett. But then Jalen Hunt goes down to your third defensive end. That's not a problem. That's a good problem to have. And they'll probably draft one then, too. It's a good problem to have. But there's also plenty of other guys. Like another name I would actually like everyone to keep in their head, Harold Landry from Tennessee. He just asked for a trade. He kind of fits the Fangio mold. He's another guy. He's 6'5", he's 250, he's 28. He's another guy, and he's not Myles Garrett, but he may cost a little less. And I don't care who they get, because Vic Fangio is Vic Fangio. And he's not that rat Jonathan Gannon. So,
Yeah.
Don, you have any comments?
No, I know we're at the 15-minute mark for our segment, so we got to keep it moving. But Sam, I appreciate you for jumping on here. Please let the people know where they can give you a follow and find you.
Oh, the good old 609 Sports Talk. We're here on Facebook. We're over on YouTube. And as of today, we're now on Spotify.
Hell yeah.
Well, check that out.
Congratulations,
Give
buddy.
me a follow on there, brother.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Have a good one, Sam.
Have a good one, guys.
Yeah, have a good one. Bye. See ya.
All right, so unfortunately, Ballpark Tommy is still buried by tax season, but we got the next best thing. We got Ballpark Shardy. Time for Phillies talk with Ballpark Tommy. Finger stitch. Ballpark Shardy.
I think at this time we need to change that to Ballpark Shardy and just have one for each of us. And then you can just have your pick at whoever's available for the night.
I'm down for that. He's gonna get so rattled seeing someone else on his segment. He's like, Dutch, what the hell is this shit?
But what's going on, guys? What's going on?
What's up, Shardy?
Doing, man?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm hanging in there, man. I've kind of been keeping up with the spring training. I mean, it kind of sucks that spring training is during work hours, but I'm not gonna lie, I have it up on my computer watching here and there. But I gotta tell you, man, like some of these, I guess we'll just jump right in, but some of these young guys are they're going off in spring training, dude. Like they're really putting these all pro Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, guys that have been here for years. They're putting them to shame. Like Alec Boehm today was just terrible. Like he had many RBI opportunities, last year at the beginning of the season, he was an RBI machine, but like he had so many opportunities today, was just grounding into inning ending outs, grounding into just dumb shit, just dumb shit. But getting into some guys that I've kind of been keeping an eye on, and these aren't really young guys in the term of age. I want you guys to more so look at it at young guys in terms of their tenure with the Phillies. So shout out to my guy, Gavin Sweeney. He's been on the Phillies post-game show before. He actually helped me out here because I've been keeping up with the games, but not to an extent where I could really give you a full breakdown. So shout out to him. But some guys that we're looking at right now. First one that we're looking at is Christian. I'm going to butcher his last name, but Christian Arroyo. He was a free agent acquisition from the Red Sox. He's a third baseman, so if Alec Boehm doesn't fucking work out, call this guy up. Looking at his stat sheet, he's had 6 at-bats, 1 run, 2 hits. He's hit a home run. That shit, as soon as it hit his bat, was fucking blasted. The power behind this guy's bat is just insane. And again, I really think if Alec Boehm doesn't work out, I mean, it says he plays second base. You can probably move him to third base, but just the power's there. Another guy we're looking at is he plays right field. So if you did call him up, it'd be a little bit tricky. Just with Nick Castellanos being in right field right now, you probably have to move this guy to center or left. But his name is Gabriel Racones. He's a young guy, really, really great. He was born in Florida. He lived in Venezuela for a bit, lived in Scotland for a bit. So he's been around. He's seen some things. 7 at-bats, 2 runs. Both of his hits have been home runs.
Wow.
So both of the times he's hit has been home runs. They've been blasted. The velocity coming off the bat is just it's insane. He's doing well. He has 3 RBI, so he's leading the team in spring training with RBI right now. And his OPS is it's phenomenal. So I mean, that's a guy I'm keeping an eye on. And then finally, Buddy Kennedy. We all know the story with Buddy Kennedy last year. He came in, had a really big game. He's been at bat 6 times. He has 1 home run, 2 RBIs. So again, I'm telling you, I'm one of those guys, and you guys might have seen my take on Instagram where I don't think that they did much this offseason. I really don't. But I'm starting to maybe see why they didn't do much. And that's because they have a lot of faith in these minor league guys to come in and really start raking. And maybe I gave Dave too much shit because maybe he saw something I didn't. I mean, I'm not a baseball GM. So that's really all I have. I mean, spring training just kicked off, so still kind of keeping an eye on these guys. The main guys really have not played much. I know Bryce Harper. God, I swear, I really thought that he had a major injury today because the pitcher that was on the mound for the Blue Jays, his name is Love something, hit him right in the shoulder face area. So the ball caught, luckily, his I guess the helmet guard, but he has a muscle contusion or something like that. So I mean, it's spring training, so he has time to heal and get ready for the season, and it's not bad. But yeah, I mean, the only other guy that I would really keep an eye on is Max Kepler. He has 3 RBIs. Hasn't really been a power guy, but raking those RBIs. So,
Shard, I got a question for you before you go too, and thank you for joining us. If you guys don't, give Shard a follow at Philly Shardy on Instagram. He's the face of 302 Birds Phillies division. He does a great job leading us there. But I want to ask you, so you were talking about Dombrowski a second ago. Do you have more faith now in this team from what you've seen throughout spring training? You're a little bit more on board than you were, at least an inch. It doesn't have to be, hey, I'm fully, going full speed. But I guess, are you trending in the right direction from what you've seen?
Offensive-wise and defensive-wise, in terms of batting, yes. Because, again, you have these guys that you can, if they keep trending the way that they are in spring training, these young guys, you can do what you did at the end of last season, calling up Buddy Kennedy. You're calling up Cal Stevenson. You're calling up he just got injured for 6 weeks. I can't think of his name, but I can see the face. But you called up another guy, Wes Wilson. That's who it is. You call up these guys, Cody Clemens, for example. You call up these guys, and if you really need that bat power to get you over the edge, I'm kind of seeing it now where maybe they can help. The issue that I'm going to have, though, is two things. And I'll leave it at this, and then, you guys can move on with your segment because I don't want to take up too much of your time. They did extend an invite to Aiden Miller. They extended an invite to Justin Crawford. These are the top prospects in our farm system. These are guys that are going to be the future face of the Phillies. Do not rush them. If they are not ready, do not rush them. I mean, they've looked okay in spring training. They've looked decent, but they need more time to develop. They need more time to, get their way through the minors. Please, for the love of God, do not rush them. Justin Crawford, he's center field. We really don't need any center field depth. The only guy that I'm really concerned about is Aiden Miller. He's a shortstop. You have Trey Turner on another deal for many, many years to come. Really don't need to rush Aiden Miller. See if the Trey Turner deal works out. Go from there. Don't rush Aiden Miller. My only concern that I have still is the bullpen. Bullpen just concerns me. We had a 9-2 lead today, and towards the end of the game, the guys that they had called up and were giving these bullpen opportunities blew it, and the final score was 9-6. So that's really what concerns me is these guys that you might throw in the bullpen just are not holding leads. And that's been the issue so far in spring training is we get these leads, 4-2, 9-2, 3-1, and they're not holding it. And that's my concern is the bullpen.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, hopefully the bullpen stays together. I'm hoping this Phillies team makes us proud, but I'm going to probably stay with Shard on the skeptical train because until I see the Phillies prove it, it's really hard with the way that they've repeated over the past couple of years for me to give my full confidence and my full vote to them. So I get it.
I mean, keep it like this, when the Eagles came off of that really shitty season against the Buccaneers, right? We went into this season like, okay, what the fuck do you have to show us this season? And they won a Super Bowl. Which is great for them. I'm kind of at that point right now with the Phillies where you got your ass whipped by the Mets. And, I'm kind of at that point where what can you do to reel us back in? Eagles won a Super Bowl. We're all back in. We all have our Super Bowl merch. You guys are at the parade. We're back in on the Eagles. Phillies, what can you do to reel us back in and show us it's not going to be another season of disappointment?
Woo! Jordan, you got me hyped up for the Phillies now. Reel us back in, man. Reel us back in. Well, hey, appreciate you for joining us. Guys, make sure you give Philly Shardy a follow. It's on TikTok, the same thing, right? I know on Instagram.
Yeah, same thing on TikTok, but TikTok's just kind of more so just shit posting sports. So
I hear you. I'm starting to do the same thing with mine too anyway. But appreciate you, man.
See you guys.
Thank you, Shardy.
Please, please, please give Shardy a follow, and you guys will see him all season long on the Phillies post-game show, holding it down with Brendan and a ton more. It's going to be a fun time, and hopefully they can reel us back in, like Shard said. I mean, that's probably the most exciting that you can be about the Phillies that you can be. So you guys got to thank Shardy for that. But now we got to get excited about a different Philadelphia franchise. I don't think anybody saw the Flyers potentially beating Sidney Crosby and his guys 6-1 yesterday, but it happened. I mean, I know that the Penguins aren't the best team all year long, but with the way that the Flyers have been trending, I didn't see it being this bad. I mean, all around, great performance. Bobby Brink was the leader. He had 4 total points. He had 3 assists, 1 goal. And then the kid, Mishkov, I mean, he had 2 assists, which was big, and he's starting to get some more experience. So how are you feeling about the Philadelphia Flyers? Are you just looking to see them sort of just wrap things up now, get a better draft pick and learn from their mistakes and move on? Or where are you at with the Flyers, Shaq?
They're right now they're 6th in the Metropolitan Division right now, which is a good spot to be in. We may not make it, a big drive into the playoffs, but I mean, anytime beating the Penguins, granted, they haven't been a great team this year, but kicking ass 6-1 is huge for them. And I'm not really expecting much out of these Flyers, but they could keep on winning and we can be in the playoffs this season. So that's kind of what my goal is. I don't care if they win a Super Bowl or not Super Bowl. Wow. If they win a Stanley Cup. But I think this team is getting better and better as years go on. And we just need to kind of work the young guys into the lineup and just keep on relying on them, because this team is a lot better than they have been in the past. They're not no Stanley Cup final team right now, but it is a contingency plan. We're kind of preparing for the long run. This team's getting better and better as the years go on. So this contingency plan is probably like the next 3 years we'll see some kind of spark in this team. But for right now, I'm happy where they're at, and let's see if they can make it into the playoffs. You're muted, buddy.
I've been looking at the goalie Samuel Erson's stats, and he's been doing a good job since he's been back. I know he's 2-1, but he has a really good save percentage. And against the Penguins, he saved a total of 23 out of the 24 shots. So he's kind of taken the reins since Carter Hart left and that whole situation happened. Flyers kind of had a question mark at the goalie position. And it's nice to kind of see somebody step up. Now, I know that it's a long season. We still got time to go. But so far, I mean, the kid's playing good hockey. And hockey is definitely a sport of momentum. So if he can keep it going, I think good things will be happening.
Before we go on to this, I just got to say that Four Nations tournament setup was amazing. And I really, even though our two guys on the Flyers were on the Canadian team, that was something great that the NHL needs to keep on doing. I know they're going to do it every year when there's not a winter Olympics, but that was just great. That probably brought more and more fans to the sport, because the Sixers suck. There's some hope with the Flyers. But yeah, that was a great showing of the Four Nations and a great layout for All-Star Weekend. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, it makes the sport exciting again. I forget who I was talking about it with, and somebody said to me, they said, what is the big thing about it? And I said, anytime that you get to represent your country for a sport, in any sport, I don't care if it's freaking cricket, I don't care if it's rowing, some sports that some people think aren't exciting. I'm not throwing a slight at them. I would be excited to represent my country in freaking marbles. That's how I think, just proud and American I am. And I hope other people are. But it's just an honor to be able to do that. So I think the fact that they added that element rather than some cheesy all-star game so the NHL can just squeeze the orange more and make more profit, it's a different approach. It's like, hey, we're going to actually have you guys go out there and play for glory rather than have you guys go out there and play for our pockets and your pockets. It's a new approach. And I think that the NBA, speaking of, should take notes. Now, I know KJ McCoy isn't here. I'm going to show you guys where he's actually at right now.
St. Joe's taking on St. Bonaventure. And it happens to be Eagles night. And a certain Eagle has landed. His name is Swoop. Go Birds or go Hawks.
So if you guys can see, you got Swoop in the house, as KJ pointed out. If you go look at our Instagram, there's a pretty cool selfie on there of KJ and a guy that has played for the team for a long time and rocks the number 55 will be your guy's hint. So he's having a great night. He's at this freaking St. Joe's game, my alma mater, and he's meeting Brandon Graham, hanging out with him instead of hanging out with us, suffering, talking about the Philadelphia 76ers. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, it feels like the way that this team has been, it's just been suffering. They've lost all hope. And you hear Paul George today. I don't know if that was real. Was that a real quote that Fratty posted, that he's going to stop playing, that he's going to take a break from podcasting to focus on winning an NBA championship? Was that a legit quote?
I have
Can
no
you
idea.
look that up for me really quick? Because if that is a real quote, I just want to say, if that's a real quote, like what? Don't even come back to the team at this point because that's like a slap in the face. It's almost sarcastic, is how it feels. That's why I'm so frustrated about it. I don't even know where to start because if that's how you really feel, where was this in November? Where was this in December? Where was this focus? Where was this team when we needed you guys when things were starting to get bad? Because it's at a point now where they can't dig themselves out of the hole. And it feels like they're like, oh, yeah, we should try to get out of here now. It's too late. It's way too late for that. And the fact that you guys want to act surprised or act like you can still do it. I know that one of the players said that they really don't have a shot at an NBA championship. I think that was actually Paul George who said that yesterday in an interview, said, hey, the way we've been playing, we can't even really compete right now, which is crazy because you guys can all us doing a podcast is fine. We don't do it during our day jobs, number one. Number two, it doesn't take away from the way that we focus on our jobs. With these guys, it really takes away because when you're in the NBA or the NFL or the MLB, that's really got to be your sole job. I mean, the way that you're busy, the way that you have to be committed to a team, committed to your body, committed to a franchise, committed to a city, it's a full-time gig.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Embiid has lost that motivation. George has lost that motivation. And them saying that is just a slap in the face.
Yeah. So the quote was, I want to let the Podcast P family know that after today's episode, this was today. I plan to take a break from the pod just to focus on getting my body right, getting mentally right, and, help this squad make a push towards our goal to finish the season out, give ourselves a chance to be a contention to compete for a championship.
I'm glad that he said it. Like, I'm not going to shit on him. Like, that's like if somebody's like, okay, you see those people out there, they're running, right? They're trying to lose weight or something like that. You can't yell at somebody if they're trying to dig themselves out of a hole, right? And he said the right thing. My problem with it, so that it's clear to all you Sixers fans, is where was this in December? Where was this in January? Like, this team it's not new that they're a dumpster fire, right? Like, this isn't groundbreaking news to you, is it? No. They've sucked for a long time. So I don't know. Does it piss you off?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I know, especially the Jason Kelsey podcast, they did it in season. But I think it's just kind of smoke and mirrors because how poorly they've been playing and how poorly they've been getting beat by other teams and how we are trending in the downward direction in the division rankings, and we can't find a way to win a single game. You have Tyrese Maxey, who's playing probably one of the best years for this team. He is the whole team, literally the whole team for the Sixers. He's getting worked. He's getting tired. Like, there has to come a point where you can't just blame you going on podcasts if you do it all the time. If you've been doing it for years now, like not like you started this podcast this season, you know what I mean? That's just bullshit. I think it's truly, truly bullshit, and it's just a way to make the media think that he's trying to do something to better his gameplay and better the team. But dude, you haven't been playing at all, like, this whole season. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's played I think he's only missed 2 or 3 games this season. He's played through injuries and things like that. And granted, Paul George is old as fuck, and Embiid's old as fuck. So that you see them sitting out, but at the same time, it's like we got to do something about this. Like, I told you guys, I told this podcast, I told 302 Birds that getting Jimmy Butler, getting Paul George, or getting LeBron James was the dumbest decision ever because they're washed. They were all-stars in the past. They haven't really done much. I mean, Jimmy Butler's kind of making a rebirth in his career in Golden State right now. But, like, you can't have these great all-stars who are in their 30s now and expect them to be groundbreaking change for this team. It doesn't work that way. They get old. Their bodies can't take it anymore. And Embiid, come on, Embiid. Like, You haven't played a single full season since you've been in the league. You were injured your original rookie season, right? You didn't play at all that season. You had injuries going into the offseason last year. Then you decided to go to the Olympics and play there. Well, you should have taken that break and got your body better, because if you did, you would have been healthy for this year. And it's just like, I just can't trust Joel Embiid. And I got to think that Tyrese Maxey is frustrated, because he's trying anything he can do for this team. But there comes a point where you're so exhausted from playing all these games and not really sitting out and playing as great as you are, and your team's not returning the favor. So there comes a point where, I know we have him for Embiid for another 3 years, right? But we got to figure something out. No one's going to want to trade for him anymore because he's injury prone. So I am so done with this team. I am so done with Embiid. I am so done with Paul George. The fact that he can go on his podcast and say, "Oh yeah, after the show, after this podcast episode, I'm going to stop podcasting." Brother, you should have stopped weeks ago, months ago, and really tried to do something for this team, because you haven't done shit at all for these Sixers.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, man. The players should be embarrassed. The only player who I think actually gets a pass to not be embarrassed is Maxey. He's the only player that shows some sort of breathing, some sort of life. Even Nick Nurse, who is somebody who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. You haven't really heard anything from Nick Nurse or seen any videos of him motivating anybody in the locker room or saying, "Hey, let's go." And I think that, that says something about the coach too. When you have a team that's down, and your coach gives up with the team, when the ship goes down and the captain goes down, that says a lot. So we'll see how it goes. But moving along to our next segment. Now, we've had some time to think about it, some time to stew. I know the last time we did a podcast was 2 weeks ago, Wednesday, I believe, would have been February 12th. But Kevin Patullo is now the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts is going to have, I believe, his fourth or fifth now offensive coordinator that he's going to have to deal with. Fourth,
I think fifth. Yeah.
Fifth is ridiculous if that's the case. I really hope it's 4. If it's 5, that's nuts. But he's going to have to get chemistry now with a new pass game coordinator. The good news that I do like about Patullo is that he's been with the team since 2021. He came in 2021 from the Colts. With the Colts, he was the wide receivers coach, and then he was the pass game specialist in 2020. And then he was the pass game coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles 2021 to 2022, the pass game coordinator and associate head coach 2023 to 2024. Notice that associate head coach. So he got some leadership under his belt. And then he was the the offensive coordinator now. So I think that the fact that he's worked with Jalen Hurts 2 Super Bowls now, him and Jalen Hurts know each other for 2 Super Bowls, is something that a lot of people are not talking about. And the fact that he's been with this team thus long, I think is actually sort of like reassurance for the Eagles of, hey, if you go out and win another Super Bowl next year and this dude ends up being a great offensive coordinator, you have a pretty good shot of him coming back the next year. Number one, because he's still a little bit younger in his coaching career. He's still a little bit newer at all of it. Number two, he's got respect for Nick Sirianni. He's been under Nick Sirianni for a long time. So I think with all those things coming into play, this was a strategic hire by the Eagles saying, hey, this isn't just a guy that can come in for 1 year. This is our guy that can do this for a while. Kellen Moore was a great offensive coordinator. Don't get me wrong. He's not a great head coach. He won't be a good head coach for New Orleans. I don't think he will be, at least. Mark my words. Sometimes you just got to know what you're good at and know your strengths and know your weaknesses, especially to achieve greatness. And I think he's a great coordinator. I don't think he's a good head coach. Patullo, we don't know. But at first, I was a little bit upset, not the happiest about this decision. And now that I've had time to stew on it, time to think about it, I actually am pretty happy with it because he's been around the team and Jalen Hurts thus long.
Yeah, so I am remiss. Jalen Hurts has had 4 coordinators in his 5 years. He had 2 years with Shane Steichen, and then, as you know,
That's still ridiculous.
right. I mean, and not even that. Like his career in college, he had multiple coordinators. So, I wasn't expecting it, but I think Kevin Patullo will be a great addition to the offense coordinator position because, like you said, he's been with Sirianni all 4 since Sirianni's been in Philadelphia. Sirianni says that he will kind of help not call the plays, but guide him to make the right decisions and kind of talk about it, which I think to have chemistry with your coaches is great. And I think that's where Nick Sirianni perfects that task at hand. And I think with Jalen Hurts having him, even though not his offensive coordinator, but being coached by him, for the past 4 years, I truly think this is a great marriage. And this is a great idea, and we'll see what happens this season. But I'm excited for this signing. I think personally, I think it was great to sign within because, like we said, signing with someone in the organization, I think, is a great thing to have, is because they know how the operations are run, and they know how Jalen Hurts, plays. And like we were talking about signing, what's his face, who was the offense coordinator before Shane Steichen? Frank Reich. Sorry, Frank Reich. And Frank Reich has not worked with Jalen Hurts at all in his career. So I think signing within, it was a great decision for Sirianni to have.
It just feels like the right decision to make. The guy's already established in Philadelphia, doesn't have to make a move. You don't have to up and leave a family. And you're also doing the right thing. You're developing a guy internally and giving him a chance. Another thing rolling around in the news this week is the Green Bay Packers got exposed for trying to ban the Philadelphia Eagles signature play. Yes, the Green Bay Packers, who we beat in the playoffs, now want to ban the tush push. Now, obviously, this got rejected for now, but I mean, I'll let you take this one first. How do you feel about this? Is this soft in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, they tried doing it last year, and that didn't really work out for them. Or not the Packers, but it didn't work out last year. I think the tush push is a play that is a football play. It's nothing crazy, and we've seen teams around the league try to perform the tush push or whatever, and it doesn't work out for them because they don't have the kind of weight we have on our offensive line, especially Jalen Hurts in the forefront of that push. I mean, we saw Josh Allen. He was pretty successful in the regular season with the tush push, or whatever you want to call it. And then he was getting stopped in the AFC Championship by the Chiefs. So I think it is the dumbest thing ever. It is a football play. Like, the one way to stop it is trying to figure out a way to stop it. I mean, that's the only thing. It's not like a crazy play where people are getting injured and things like that. I saw a stat saying no one has gotten injured at all this season with the tush push. So I just think it's the Packers are salty, and they're trying to do anything to stop this team from being successful. I mean, Nick Sirianni brought the tush push to Philadelphia. I saw a video. It was when Sirianni was a coordinator, wherever he was, in Indianapolis. And he brought in, I think it was Philip Rivers was the quarterback at the time. And then they had, I forget who the quarterback was, but it was a bigger dude, and they put him in, and it was successful. So I just think to stop bitching about this play, the only way to stop that is try to stop it. And it is a immovable force. No team can stop it, really. I mean, we saw people last year stop it a few times. It's not like an unstoppable play the majority of the time. But, I just think there's no need for you to ban a football play at all.
And it feels like if they ban the play, they're almost going to have to ban Jalen Hurts. It's a Jalen Hurts play.
Yeah.
At first, we were like, okay, this is a Jalen Hurts and Jason Kelsey thing. We're like, all right, this is the two that need to come together. This is the peanut butter and jelly. You have a great center and you have a QB that can squat 600 pounds. This is broken. Kelsey retires. Jurgens is able to execute it the same way with Hurts. So it's not a team play. It's a Jalen Hurts play. So unless the NFL is ready to say, hey, we're going to ban you from the NFL for being overpowered at QB sneaking, which is wild, they're not going to ban it. They can't. They would basically have to ban Jalen Hurts. It's a Jalen Hurts play, which is what I've acknowledged and realized. It's just crazy that teams keep trying this because when you think about it, I've never heard of the QB sneak get banned before in all the other years that the NFL's existed. I've never heard of a QB sneak be that overpowered before. So just because Philadelphia can do it and people don't like the Eagles and they get intimidated by us, let's ban it. Let's not do that anymore.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, dude, it's like it's been in the NFL since they started the league, right?
Fucking in the 1920s, bro.
Right. So it's like it's been in the league for forever, but the fact that the Eagles have perfected it, people don't like Philadelphia. People don't like Philadelphia. People don't like the Eagles. People don't like your coaches. They just try to do anything to prevent the Eagles from being great. And I just find that funny because it wasn't a thing like when Mike Vick, like, oh, should we have stopped Mike Vick from rushing out of the pocket? I mean, it's like something that a quarterback is good at. You're trying to stop. It's a feat to their game that, luckily we have Jalen Hurts. So it's just funny to me that this play has been in the league for years. And now all of a sudden, since the Eagles have been doing so great on the past, 2 years, I would say, they're trying to ban it. They're trying to stop the Eagles. So for that, all I got to say is fuck you.
Yeah, it's really a shame that they've kind of came to that conclusion. So we'll see how it goes. It won't get banned. To all you Packers fans out there listening, my boy Coach, if you're listening, my favorite Packers fan, Coach Khan, and then my boy Dalton, if you're listening, who we met this year, Jordan and Dalton from Canada. Those are like my two favorite Packers fans. Other than that, other Packers fans, I don't care about you. Who I do care about is both of these Philadelphia Eagles QBs. For those listening on Spotify, tonight, we're going to do a little debate. I mean, it's just Jack and I, unless KJ pops in. I know he's coming back from the St. Joe's game. But wrapping up the show, we got two more topics. We're going to talk about Myles Garrett here at the end. But before that, we're going to talk about a would you rather. We've had some time to think about Jalen Hurts and Nick Foles and who you would rather have as your Eagles QB of all time. For me, there's one way that I make this decision. It's easy and it's simple. Jalen Hurts is the only ever Philadelphia Eagles QB to start in 2 Super Bowls. So with that being said, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. And he's won one of them. Now, if he lost both of his Super Bowls, this would be way more of a debate. Because if he went like 0-2, but he started in both Super Bowls and he played exceptional, but Nick Foles won one, well, I would actually still probably give the edge to Nick Foles because it's all about winning in this city. But Jalen Hurts has won one, and he started in one that he didn't win either, which Nick Foles can't say that he's done. I think sometimes the one thing I will say, I think sometimes Nick Foles gets thrown under the bus. And a lot of people think of Nick Foles as just this backup QB for the Eagles or just this transition period QB, which he was. He was in 2017, 2018. But people forget, before that, there was a time period when Nick Foles had some really great moments with the Eagles. He had that season where he went 27-2. He threw for 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions when him and Mike Vick were competing for the job. And he also had that game that I think a lot of people will forget, where he threw for 7 passing touchdowns against the then Oakland Raiders. So Nick Foles has a pretty good resume for the greatest Philadelphia Eagles QB of all time. It's not just that one Super Bowl win and what he did in the playoffs. He has that 27-2 season. He has that Super Bowl. he had, like I just pointed out, that 7-touchdown game. And people also forget he gave us a couple great moments. I mean, there was the year after the Super Bowl that when Carson Wentz would get injured. I remember the game against the Rams. Actually, the year that the Rams won the Super Bowl, I think, or no, the year that the Rams lost in the Super Bowl to Tom Brady. I think it was 2018, 2019-ish. Anyway, we beat them that year. Nick Foles came in, we went to LA, and nobody expected it, and the Philadelphia Eagles came in and beat them. And a lot of people say, okay, well, what about, the game against the Saints? A lot of people say that the Eagles would have won that game too with Nick Foles if Alshon Jeffrey would have called it. So I do think it's closer than some people might say, but just because of the 2 Super Bowls started and the 1 Super Bowl won, it's a no-brainer for me. I got to give it to Jalen Hurts to be the greatest Eagles QB of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Swoop Boys Entertainment said. It's kind of been cemented now that he is probably one of the greatest quarterbacks for the Eagles in history. I mean, not to mention, like we said earlier, he's had 4 different coordinators in his career, and he's been to the playoffs every year. He's been to a Super Bowl and lost it, and then been to a Super Bowl and won it. So, and just like he is such a versatile quarterback, he can throw the ball, he can run the ball, he can do it all. And all these haters that were saying, "Oh, Jalen Hurts isn't a good quarterback; he's a system quarterback." Fuck you, because now that people are seeing that he won Super Bowl MVP, now they're trying to, pardon my French, suck his dick, for lack of better words, because he brought us our 2nd ever Super Bowl, and he's had a rough patch. He's had a rough roadmap to the league right now, and it just blows my mind that people were like, "Oh my God, like, why are we signing Jalen Hurts? Why did we draft Jalen Hurts? We had Carson Wentz." There's been all these haters, and he's proven them wrong again and again. And the fact that he just has a smile on his face, doesn't really show emotion, and can do what he does is phenomenal. I mean, he just has that grit in him. He has that dog mentality that we need in Philadelphia. And I'm so mad that people are just trying to like, "Oh, he's so good," but you were 6 months ago or 4 months ago saying, "Oh my God, Jalen Hurts isn't a good quarterback." So it just, the dynamic of the haters now transition to like lovers for him, it just blows my mind. And he's been through a lot his whole career. So I got to give my edge to Jalen Hurts for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy how winning one game in a city can make you like an immovable like greatness, literally royalty. And he's won that game. So he's through that threshold now where I think I said it on a podcast a couple weeks ago. Jalen Hurts could suck for the rest of his career and nobody would care because he's won that Super Bowl. He's gotten that. Now, I'm not saying go out there and try at that. I want to try to get a couple more just like everyone else. But he's done it once now. And that's all we needed at minimum. So anything now, we're satisfied. I mean, they did the impossible. What a lot of people said that they couldn't do. They beat Patrick Mahomes. And granted, they aren't the same Chiefs team that they were a couple years ago, but they're still a great team. And I think they'll be back better next year with a little bit more vengeance, with a little bit of other things on their mind. I mean, this one's going to definitely sting them, and it has me wondering now, what do the Philadelphia Eagles need to do to make sure that they bring back another Lombardi for that 3rd franchise championship? It's not going to be easy. I think that this one actually might be the hardest one yet because you're going to have to go against Patrick Mahomes with a chip on his shoulder. Like, he's going to be pissed next year. And his boy, Travis Kelce, same thing. He's going to be upset too. So you're going to have to go win the whole NFC again. You're going to have to get past the Commanders, which I think that they can do that. You're going to have to get past the Lions. Okay, I don't know about that. The Lions are going to have vengeance this year as well. And then you're going to have to deal with, I actually think that the Packers are going to give people more problems than they think this year. They're a cold weather team that has a good run game. They're kind of built similarly to the Eagles in that, where they have a mobile QB, kind of, hasn't really hit that cusp yet. So I could see the Packers taking off next year and actually having a good season too. So with all that being said, then you got the Rams, who actually almost gave us a run for our money. And if you make it past all that shit that I just named, which sounds like a lot because it is a lot, then you're going to have to go up against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, pissed off in the Super Bowl with the refs that are probably going to be backing them. That's no easy feat. So there's one thing that the Eagles can do, and that is bring in an elite pass rusher. I want an edge. I would love Myles Garrett. There's pros and cons to each, and I made a whole video about this on our YouTube. You can come check it out. But basically, I feel like with the Eagles window that they're in, and with Myles Garrett window that he's in and where he's at in his career right now, I think Howie Roseman is going to call him up and make a win-win deal, kind of similarly to what he said to Zach Bond. He said to Zach Bond in his pitch, hey, you're kind of overlooked. We're kind of overlooked. Let's come together and let's make a good thing happen. Like, do you believe in me? Do you believe in this team? I believe he said something similar to Devin White too. Devin White just didn't listen. Look how that worked out. You got to be feeling like a real idiot now because you lost out on a Super Bowl ring. But Zach Bond did listen. He did buy in. And I think that now other players from different franchises are going to notice that on the outside looking in. And they're going to say, hey, maybe Philadelphia isn't such a bad place to play. Maybe Philadelphia takes care of their own. Maybe the Philadelphia front office takes care of their players. And maybe that's a place that I could see myself wanting to play. Well, I think that's exactly what we're seeing here with Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett has been keeping an eye on the Eagles for a long time. I mean, in the back of his head, he's been thinking about it his whole career playing for the Browns. They're just not a well-ran franchise. So he's been kicking it around. The Eagles have been kicking it around. And to me, you got to bring in Myles Garrett. If not, maybe bring in Abdul Carter from Penn State. He would be somebody that I would be happy with too. He's an Eagles fan, but the chances of that are unlikely. I think it's more realistic that you're actually able to go out and get a free agent. And Myles Garrett isn't 30 yet. He turns 30 this December. So he's about to be in his prime. The con, though, is he's about to be in his prime earning years too. So he's going to want to be paid like it.
Yeah, I mean, Abdul Carter is probably unlikely because unless we make a crazy trade, because he's probably going to go top 10, maybe top 5 this draft. So, and I think we have picked 32 or something crazy like that. So Abdul Carter would be a great addition to this team, but at the same time, he's going to get picked up by some team, before we even make our decision. Myles Garrett. I would love Myles Garrett on this team. I think he would be a good fit. We saw in his presser or whatever at the Super Bowl, he's like, yeah, it would be a crazy place to go to Philadelphia. So that kind of gave me some kind of intuition that he's thinking about it. But you got to think, what do the Eagles have to give up to get Myles Garrett? Because we can't really throw money at him as of right now, unless we cut some people. And we're going to have to make some crazy trades. So I think Howie, like the snake he is, will find a way to get him in Philadelphia. But it's a matter of what are we willing to give up for Myles Garrett. I think he'll be a great addition to this defense. I think he'll be a great addition to Vic Fangio's D-line. But it's a matter of what is a worthy trade for him to come to Philadelphia, because he's going to be asking for a lot money, and then the Browns are going to be asking for a lot to get him to even think about coming to Philadelphia. I think he'll be a great. I mean, he is probably the sole heart to that Browns team. I mean, he's been playing phenomenal, even with the Browns having shitty seasons. So it's a matter of, okay, we can get him to Philadelphia, but what are we willing to give up to get him? And that may be, getting rid of, I mean, I would hate to see him go, Reed Blankenship, or, Jahan Dotson or Josh Sweat, Mekhi Becton. So there's players we can trade. Bryce Huff. There's different ways we can do it, but it's a matter of, I think we're top. And I know he was really, I heard that if he gets offered something at the Commanders, then we're gonna throw whatever we can at him. But yeah, I think he would be a great addition to this team. It's just a matter of how do we get him to Philadelphia.
And that's a fun, thought that you raised, not for Eagles fans, but just for pure entertainment in the NFL. I mean, that could be the missing piece, hypothetically, for the Commanders. A good entrepreneur, a good businessman, as Mark Cuban once said, is always thinking about how do you kick your own ass. And I hope that that's what the Eagles are doing in Howie Roseman. I think it is, and it's what they've been doing for years. But if the Commanders bring in somebody like Myles Garrett, that's really the missing piece that they've needed. That elite pass rusher, I think, could start to say, okay, Jaden Daniels is the kind of player that can turn around an entire franchise. If you bring another player in like that on the opposite side of the ball, you're looking at a night and day difference. We saw what the Commanders did this year to the Lions. Nobody thought that that was possible. Now, I'm not saying that the Eagles are going to beat up on the Commanders every time we play them. I think that the Eagles sort of got lucky in that NFC Championship. Not lucky, they earned it. But at some point, the Commanders just fell down and died, and the Eagles kept going and piling it on. So, if it was, a closer game, I don't know that that would happen. Myles Garrett's on the field in a Commander's uniform. That's not the same result.
Right.
Myles Garrett's a great player. I think he's a great leader, and he's somebody that you want on your team. I love that I heard the same thing that you heard, that is essentially the Eagles have some sort of contingency plan or something locked up, I guess, with Myles Garrett and his agent or something where they're willing to throw the house. I talked about it in the video on our YouTube too, and you guys can go check it out if you want. Check out 302 Birds on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment. All those little things really help and mean a ton. But I said, I think a trade for Myles Garrett would look like the first round pick this year. Then you're going to need to, say, okay, let's put in the paperweight pass rusher like Bryce Huff. And then let's take somebody else too, like maybe Sidney Brown, who's got a lot of potential. The Eagles have got to look at a position where they have a plethora. Cornerback might be another one. I think Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell are obviously untouchable. But everybody else, I mean, you guys got to keep in mind. I know a lot of people are connected with these players. Isaiah Rodgers, that's somebody. But if you can bring Myles Garrett on this team that's going to have a big gapping hole at edge, it's going to do a lot for you. You got Brandon Graham, who's probably going to retire. Hopefully he doesn't. Sweaty J, who's going to probably go get paid. And then, Bryce Huff, who the fuck knows what we're going to do with him. That leaves really one guy. So they really, really got to figure it out. And I think Myles Garrett could be the solution to that problem. The Eagles just got to figure out how are they going to pay him. The good news is I know he wants to win. I don't think he's going to be as greedy as people are thinking that he's going to be. I know he's in his prime earning years, but if you look at the way his personality works, I mean, the dude writes poetry in his free time. I think that's awesome, to be clear. But I think he's more cultured. He's more, how do I want to put it? Like, he's more about the glory of his career. He's more about the accolades. And having a Lombardi in his career, I think, is something that's really important to him. More important than money. So I think that this question is not so far-fetched, not so, out of space, this wild thing that can happen. I actually think that there's a really good shot that this happens. I'd be willing to put like a 40% chance on it, which I know sounds high to a lot of people, but when you think about it, the Eagles have got to be the top team in his head of where he wants to go. I mean, or at least one of them, because they're a team that just won the Super Bowl. They can do it again, but it's not like the edge position's crowded. Like, he would walk right in and take over right away. So that's got to be attractive to him too. So I just think that this is a match made in heaven. Jack just hit the nail on the head, though, is how does Howie Roseman make it all happen and, get everybody to play nice in the sandbox and get all the pieces to come together for a second Lombardi in Philadelphia? We'll see. But
yeah, I mean, I think, with the acquisition or the trade that we did or the acquire of Saquon Barkley and seeing him be so successful and having fun in Philadelphia, that really draws the eyes of other players around the league because, I mean, granted, Saquon Barkley was one of the greatest running backs in the NFL, even though he was on a shitty team. I think with the fact that he came to Philadelphia, was successful, and he was a big piece of that team, and how he kind of embodied being Philadelphia really was the reason why these players are starting to wanting to make moves, because they see they can still be successful when they go to a different team. And then that city will embody them and bring them love. And, the Philadelphia Eagles fan base is one of the greatest fan bases of all time. People hate us and we don't care. Fuck them. So seeing us kind of take him in to our team and to our city, I think really explained a lot to other players around the league. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, they're going to resonate with it. Look for Philadelphia to be the new place to go. Dare I say, America's team? Uh-oh, Cowboys fans. They're quivering right now.
Nope.
Get ready. But that's all we got. If you guys haven't, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. As I said earlier in the show, all those little things mean a ton and help us out a ton. We're going to be here covering the draft for you guys. We're going to be here covering the free agency. Stay tuned also for an event upcoming in April. Looks like we're going to be doing our celebrity guest bartender event to benefit the Eagles Autism Challenge. So we got a lot of fun stuff coming up despite it being the off season. And I'm sure Jack, KJ, and me, and I know we're going to one with Fratty for sure too, but all of us will be attending a Phillies game. So stay tuned for some kind of group 302 Birds Phillies game, maybe a Sixers game with how cheap tickets are. There will be ways to get involved. But like, comment, subscribe, go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. It means a ton. And I'll kick it to Jackson to do what he does and get us out of here.
It is crazy to say that this is our season 8 premiere. We haven't really talked about it, and we haven't put it, in writing, but I think it is okay to ask that we're trying to build this brand and blow this out of the water. If you have family members, cousins, friends, let them know about us. We're trying to grow this company, this brand to, we hit a milestone this year at 10,000 followers on Instagram. Let's get another 10,000 followers on Instagram. So let people know about who we are and what we bring to the table. And we're at 37,000 followers on TikTok. Let's grow that to 50,000. So we need you guys to be our champion and help us build this brand. And we really do appreciate you guys being with us for 8 seasons. It's been a joy for Dalton and I know for the whole crew at 302 Birds. So I just want to extend my gratefulness, my love to you guys. But without further ado, this is season 8 premiere. Hey, Josh, it's an outro, not an intro. Hit that motherfucking outro.
Here we go, 302 Birds, you know, stinks.